Alright, unfortunately, I made the decision we're an X-Men channel now.
In what aspect? What did that?
A combination of things. X-Men 97, the fact that the last couple poorly explained comics have been about X-Men, and we got a few more subscribers that way.
Fair.
So, yeah, we're now an X-Men channel, which is really unfortunate, because I'll admit, the X-Men are one of the corners of Marvel I am least equipped to talk about.
But hey, nothing wrong with change.
And it's not like not knowing what I'm talking about stops anybody else on the internet. So why should it stop me?
Topical.
Welcome to Under the Bridge, everybody!
Welcome to Under the Bridge.
I'm Cody, a.k.a. the Scarlett Troll.
And I am Greg, a.k.a. Greg.
And this is our podcast where we talk sometimes movie news, I messed it up. Sometimes comic... News of the pop culture variety! Boom!
News of the pop culture variety.
And
We're
also
off to
movie
a
reviews.
rousing start.
I like how I've spent weeks honing this thing down into a smooth, descriptive tagline, and immediately when I get an idea of how to fix it, I yuts it up.
Yeah, news of the pop culture variety. It's like that blooper's probably gonna stay in there.
Probably, it's too good to pass up.
Right.
Anyways, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video around if you haven't already, because we really appreciate it. And
Yes,
we got
we do.
some stuff to talk about.
Oh boy, yes we do.
Oh, man. Ominous. Tell you what's not ominous, though, we got a release date, well, not a release date, but at least a release year, and a story trailer for Marvel 1943, The Rise of Hydra.
Indeed.
Which is the Captain America and Black Panther game.
Yes, which part of my brain still goes, wait, this is actually a thing? Okay.
Right? I can't
it's just
remember.
such-
Is this the Black Panther game where... Because there were talks about, I think, a different Black Panther game, and people got really upset because it sounds like you were playing as, quote, the new Black Panther, implying they were going to kill T'Challa in that game.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this is related or not, but that's not important. What is important is, this looks pretty cool.
This looks pretty sick, honestly.
And I like that they're setting up a
Mhm.
antagonistic / probably reluctant alliance between Cap and Black Panther, and yet
Right.
it doesn't feel contrived.
No, it doesn't. It is understandable. We obviously don't know everything, but I think from a basic standpoint, you can understand the apprehensiveness, because Captain America is ultimately a soldier, and he's like, why is this crazy Wakandan dude who can tear through vibranium running around during this Black Ops mission? And, oh god, which one is this? Azuri is just like, I need to find this thing, I don't care who gets in my way, even if I have to go to the middle of a war zone.
And also, there's the rising conflict of, obviously they want to stop Hydra, but they also don't want the Americans or other people poking around their stuff and potentially finding out about Wakanda and what they got going on.
So yeah, it's like by default on that, it's like, you know who I'm going to be really sus of? The giant walking American flag.
Valid. 100% valid.
So that already sets up some entertaining possibilities.
Take notes, DC. This is how you do hero versus hero.
Yeah.
You have to come up with an organic way for the conflict to flow, not start with the conflict and then write backwards from there.
Yeah, and then it's just like, you're probably wondering how I got here. Yes, but not for good reasons. These are good reasons.
I can't get over the fact, I hate to get off the top, but I can't get over the fact that no matter how many times I try to think about the worst movie I've ever seen, even though it's not the worst in terms of production, it's hard for me not to say Batman v Superman.
I can understand why.
Just in terms of sheer how do you F this up, and in terms of damage to a brand that should be pretty much bulletproof,
They did it. It's impressive that they did it.
And this just reminds me of how it could have been better.
Oh, yes.
Despite having nothing to do with that, except you've got two heroes butting heads.
Right. In a much more believable manner, though.
Yeah. Obviously, I still need to see some gameplay, because that's gonna be the real important thing. Like, if it's God of War style over-the-shoulder thing for most of it, which I doubt it'll be, I can't do it.
Yeah, like, that's me too. I mean, the trailer definitely makes a good case for the capabilities of Unreal 5 when it comes to how pretty a game can be. This game looks very pretty and all, and from a story and plot standpoint, everything looks very promising, but I am very much also the opinion of the gameplay is what matters. And if the gameplay sucks, then it doesn't matter how pretty the game is at that point.
Yeah, I don't play games to watch movies. Take notes, Kingdom Hearts. Man, 3 disappointed me. But no, this looks very exciting. This seems like a pretty big swing in terms of Marvel things to make a game out of. And we could use more big swings, so...
Oh yeah.
I'm looking forward to finding out more about this game and determining whether or not I actually want to play it.
Yeah, same, honestly. I mean, I'm... By default, considering its time period and who's involved, I am already significantly interested in it. So it's only really down from here in that aspect.
True. Now here's something that, if I never hear about it again after this week, I could probably die happy.
Oh boy.
A live-action The Sims movie.
Get the fuck out of here.
Wait, is it live-action? I don't actually know that it specifies.
If it's a Sims movie, I still say get the fuck out of here. How do you make a movie? Oh, please tell me Margot Robbie's not in it.
Her production company's producing it.
Damn it.
You don't know that she's in it.
No, but that makes me interested by default too, and I don't like that.
Yeah. Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse on the you don't want to hear about this, but now you're gonna have to want to.
Oh boy.
The director of Season 1 of Loki, Kate Herron, is attached to direct and co-write the screenplay.
Oh, that's a shame because Season 1 was good.
Season 2 is also good. You should watch it.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, when we get to the trailer section, I will have more to add to the list of other shows I should watch that I probably will never get around to.
Oh boy, this is going to be a fun trailer time. A lot of trailers
indeed.
This week.
Anyways,
yeah. Talk about a movie where just the basic concept fills me with revulsion, but looking at the people responsible for it fills me with morbid curiosity.
Which already has more positivity than I had when the Gran Turismo movie was announced.
Worse than morbid curiosity, a creeping suspicion that this might actually be good.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah, somehow, someway, because it's the thing of, like, Sims doesn't... It's Sims. It doesn't... The whole point of Sims is that you play God. That is what Sims is, and it's part of the reason I don't like playing it, in all honesty. Because it feels really creepy in some situations.
Yeah, plus I feel like we kind of already got a couple of movies that together kind of give you the whole Sims experience. One of which was Barbie.
Oh, yeah.
And the other was Free Guy.
Oh, I didn't think about Free Guy like that. Yeah, I can see that.
Because I feel like the main appeal of a Sims movie would be one of the Sims breaking free of control or something.
Yeah.
But, like... I mean, like I said... With the production company attached and with Kate Herron directing, this is probably going to be fine, but... Oh, I'm confused.
Bonus points if there's a scene that comes out of nowhere where the Captain America shield and the Avengers theme just pops up out of nowhere. That was still amazing.
The best part was Chris Evans.
Just, like,
what
coming up and be like, what the shit? That is one of the most amazing things, especially remembering how your mouth just goes wide open when the shield comes up, and then Chris Evans just goes, what's the shit? And everyone in the theater loses it.
Oh, man.
That was amazing.
I liked Free Guy, I don't care what anybody says.
Free Guy? Do people not like Free Guy? Free Guy's amazing.
I don't know. I've seen people go, oh, Free Guy was bad, but who knows? The internet's a cesspool.
Oh, yes.
We'll get into it.
Yes, we will.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming. Speaking of movies I didn't want to think about, but now have to. Apparently Scarlett Johansson's in talks to lead the new Jurassic World movie.
Okay.
Now,
sure.
To be fair, she's not the only reason. I don't think we covered this because I think it got lost in the sauce whatever week this was announced, but Gareth Edwards is directing it. That would be Gareth Edwards of Rogue One and The Creator fame.
Okay.
So, damn it.
Yeah.
I have to watch another one of these fucking dinosaur movies.
I thought I was free, and then they lured me back in.
Yeah, I thought, you know what, I saw a Dominion. This was a really good jumping off point because it's fucking terrible.
Right.
But now you're telling me Scarlett Johansson set to star in a Gareth Edwards directed dinosaur movie. Fine. But I swear to God, if this one sucks, I will do nothing but continue to complain about it on the internet.
Right.
You better be building up to I'm keeping a counter. You better be building up to that top hat wearing, monocle donning Velociraptor with an English accent.
Again, it's the Jurassic Park equivalent of Fast and Furious literally going to space.
Yep.
That would be the peak, and there's no coming back from that.
That is my singular issue that I'm on. It has to be a talking dinosaur at some point.
Right.
That finds Barney very racist. I'm kidding.
Oh,
that's optional.
No, but that would be amazing.
Maybe crossing over to that weird existential horror Barney movie that Daniel Kaluuya was talking about making.
Oh, that's right. That was a thing. It was a thing that was talked about indeed.
Is that still going on?
Existential crisis, Barney. That is. I can't believe those words just left my mouth in that sentence, in that context.
I mean, there was an update on it as of October last year, so... Okay.
Jesus Christ.
I want to see that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's... Honestly, those are the best bits of news that I've got. It's all downhill from here.
Oh, yeah.
Because we were both very excited about Late Night with the Devil, and I've got a double bit of bad news. One is that there's no showtimes anywhere near us. They're all in Tampa or Oldsmar.
Oh, boy.
The other bad news is it's come out that some AI art has been used in the making of this movie.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Nothing huge, admittedly.
Mm-hmm.
Although one is, I think, a background set image that's pretty prominent, but the others are brief interstitials.
Okay.
So, the directors and writers, Colin and Cameron Cairns, said, in conjunction with our amazing graphics and production design team, all of whom worked tirelessly to give this film the 70s aesthetic we had always imagined, we experimented with AI for 3 still images which we edited further and ultimately appear as very brief interstitials in the film. We feel incredibly fortunate to have had such a talented and passionate cast, crew, and producing team go above and beyond to help bring this film to life. We can't wait for everyone to see it for themselves. And this has, understandably, kicked up some controversy.
It may have ruffled some feathers.
Yeah. And I'll admit, I was wrestling a bit, and it's been made a little bit easier for me since I don't feel like driving out to Oldsmar to see anything.
Fair.
Or Tampa, really. But there's a couple different schools of thought here, because this is a smaller movie.
Right. Like, it's a much smaller movie.
It's a very small movie. It's a very brief use of AI imagery. But that being said, this is a very hot-button issue. It's a very slippery slope. And
right.
Frankly, if you can't afford to pay somebody to just draw up a thing, do you really have enough to make a movie?
Yeah.
And I understand you gotta cut corners where you can. I understand that, I really do. And it sucks that it's the smaller movies getting a bunch of the heat for this.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, you can't let it slide. You gotta get on their ass about it.
Yeah, with everything that's happened over the last, year and a half on that. Literally the fact that movies as a whole stopped for almost a year because of that. It's not the kind of thing that can just be, brushed underneath the bed or something like that. Even, no matter how big or small.
Right. And there's also the problem of, and maybe there are some now that don't, but a lot of those AI models were made with stolen art. Art that was not consented to be fed into this program.
Right.
So, there's so many ethical problems with this whole thing that I'm still gonna watch this when it comes out on Shudder, but I really just... And the main reason is just because, for those 3 things, it's not fair to everybody else who worked on the production to throw it under the bus.
Right.
For something that small.
Yeah, I would agree to that as well. I think it'd be one thing if it was a more prominent thing, like if it was, say, audience members were all, AI generated, that'd be a problem.
Right. And if it were a bigger studio behind it.
Yeah.
But, you still run into the thing of, this is a big enough issue that I had to contemplate it, because... And I don't fault anybody who comes to the opposite conclusion and decides not to watch this movie because of that. I understand.
Right.
I completely get it if your stance is, we cannot allow this in any way, shape, or form. We have to make it known. I'm just of the opinion that burying a smaller movie isn't the way to do it, and also, in a case like this, where it's already going to have a small audience probably, it's not going to make enough of an impact for people to know this is because of the AI issue.
Right.
It's not like, say, The Flash, where, okay, The Flash had a lot of things working against it, but I feel like the really...
That's putting it lightly.
And having still not seen it...
Yeah, neither have I.
But having observed all the discourse around it, I feel like the really bad, tasteless CGI resurrection of dead actors was a big factor, and it was made known that that was a big factor.
Yes.
But for something like this, I feel like the most discussion it's gotten is about this, but if it doesn't, if it fails, nobody's going to attribute it to AI. They're just going to attribute it to it being a smaller niche horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that's where I stand on that. And then on a minor note, OpenAI has multiple meetings in Hollywood this week to show the potential of its Sora software to studios, talent agencies, and media executives. That's the thing where it's a text-to-video generator that you plug in a prompt and it'll actually, like, make a video.
Okay, that's problematic.
And they're all terrible!
Yeah.
They all look like garbage!
Yeah. Just no altogether.
Now, I get it. You have to at least take the meeting, and you have to do the thing, and you have to figure out where the boundaries are. But let it be known, don't do this. This is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
This is a stupid fad of a thing that a bunch of tech bros want you to put in because it's just like crypto. It's the latest stupid pyramid scheme where they want you to get on board with this thing because they got on board with it and sunk money into it, and now the best way to get out of it is to offload it on some other sucker.
Right.
Don't be the sucker.
Do not be the sucker.
Be the sucky. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
That was a really... I don't know what that was.
That was not a good analogy, is what it was.
No. Don't be the one who is sucked. Be the... Wait. That's worse.
Suck.
That's actually worse than the first one.
It's just
I almost said be the vampire, and then
No, man, some people are actually into that shit.
I don't know where I'm going with this anymore. Oh, damn. And now, I don't know how important this is, because I'm not in finance.
Right.
So I don't understand some of what's going on here, but to my limited understanding, there's some kind of battle for Disney board seats going on.
And, oh boy, that's encouraging.
Yeah, this one guy, Nelson Peltz, who runs, what's it called? Crayon?
What?
Crayon Partners.
Try Hard Partners?
And also, he's got a silent partner in the form of old Ike Inhumans Perlmutter.
Apparently he's the chairman of the board of directors of Wendy's.
Oh, God.
Let me make sure... Yep, yeah, he's a chairman of the board of Wendy's.
And has also admitted he never claimed to have experience in the media business.
Well, no time like the present to start.
Right? This is a guy who wants 2 seats on the Disney board.
Is he big enough to fill up 2 seats? Those chairs... Yeah, it's like those chairs didn't ask for that shit, bro.
No, absolutely not. And so, ordinarily, I wouldn't care, because, rich assholes are gonna rich asshole.
Right.
And the struggles of one rich asshole against another rich asshole doesn't matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
God knows I have enough grievances with Bob Iger. But, some of the things this Peltz guy has said, it's one of those, you're saying the stupid internet chud things out loud. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Actual quote, why do I have to have a Marvel that's all women? Not that I have anything against women, but why do I have to do that? Why can't I have Marvels that are both? Why do I need an all-black cast?
God, that's my favorite thing about people who try to argue that. Why does it have all these people that I feel like are undesirable? Not to say that they're bad people, I just find them undesirable. That's literally what you're saying.
That's what you're saying.
It's also a thing of, because the thing that you're trying to get into has been having women and people of color and all other kinds of individuals on, like, front page and being important characters for the last, nearly 100 years? You kind of don't get to just come in and be like, well, I don't like that. It's like, well, fuck you.
Not only that, it's a case of, this sounds like a man who's never actually seen either of these movies, because, want to point out, Black Panther does not have an all-black cast.
No, it does not.
Even the first one had Martin Freeman and Andy Serkis as the literal Tolkien white guys.
Who were still, like, major characters in it, too.
Who are still major characters. And the Marvels had Nick Fury, and also the Khans, and also the Prince, I forget his name, but he was a delight, as supporting characters.
He was amazing.
And here's the thing. Here's
Mm-hmm.
the thing. Here's the thing they don't want to acknowledge. If you're saying that those supporting character roles aren't good enough and don't matter for the point that you're trying to make, maybe hold up a mirror. And maybe see why. That's why movies like Black Panther exist.
Right.
But even going past the points of diversity, even if you don't want to argue that point, or even if you disagree with the point, here is something that I think is unquestionably stupid.
Okay.
He was asked during an interview if Kevin Feige should be removed as president of Marvel Studios.
Why?
And his statement was, I'm not ready to say that, but I question his record. His record of making $30 billion, you mean?
Yeah, as I
you
say,
dumb
like,
fuck!
his record of what? Whirling in bank for Disney?
This is the man who did the Infinity Saga, A.K.A. the second highest grossing movie of all time, and the 20 films that led up to it!
Yeah.
That's the highest grossing movie of, like, the top 3 that doesn't involve James Cameron! Question his record for what? The man took Guardians of the Galaxy and made it a household goddamn name!
And we want to very much emphasize Guardians of the Galaxy. It doesn't matter what you think of them now. Before it was announced, they were fucking nobodies.
They were nobodies! Iron Man was a nobody! Anybody who knew about Iron Man at the time basically thought he was literally Hitler!
And whenever they would try to make arguments about Iron Man being literally Hitler, you'd just be met with calls from the back just going, boo, nerd!
Yeah, nobody gave a shit about... Okay, some people gave a shit about Captain America, but I'll guarantee you most of the world didn't give a shit about Captain America.
Yeah, 100%.
The big names were Spider-Man, Hulk, and the X-Men.
Yeah.
And the Fantastic Four, kind of. But Feige has been overseeing this every step of the way, and because there's been some fumbles in the last few years, part of which were driven by studio mandates to crank out content as fast as possible, now you want to say you question his record? Endgame was only 5 years ago, you stupid fuck!
Oh god, that was 5 years ago.
Hell! You remember when No Way Home came out and made $1.9 billion? You know who was responsible for navigating the minefield that is Sony's idiocy to make that happen?
Right.
Fuck!
And to really emphasize this as well, for people who don't believe it, Avengers Endgame is the second highest grossing movie, as previously mentioned, in between the two Avatar movies, and 2 spots above Titanic. Which, Titanic was the highest grossing of all time for a very long time.
This is the shit that makes me just think all publicly traded companies should be sent out to sea. On a burning ship. Because the fact that you can do that much for that long, and then the second there's any kind of stumble, that isn't even your fault, some dipshit whose only notability is having money gets to turn around and go, oh, but is he washed, though?
And being the chairman of Wendy's, don't you forget.
Oh, fucking numbskull. If there's any consolation to this, George Lucas, the single largest individual shareholder of Disney, is backing Bob Iger.
Okay, then yeah, that is good.
And Disney doesn't seem to be taking him that seriously either.
Also good.
They sent a letter to shareholders titled, Oh, Nelson, and...
Alright, that's pretty good, actually.
It even contains the quote, in reference to some of his quotes about Marvel, what sense is being a billionaire if you're not a bully?
I mean, given certain things about Disney fighting bullies in different parts of the country, I can understand why they would come to that conclusion.
Which is nuts, because, and I cannot stress this enough, because I don't want to come across like I'm jumping to Disney's defense here. They are a multi-billion-dollar company. They're also a bully.
Evil. Yeah, they are evil. They do bully people as well.
They're also a bully, and any perceived goodwill gestures on their part are performative because it looks good and it is projected to make them money long term.
And it usually does.
That being said, I will take the supervillain who's good at not acting like a supervillain.
Versus the actual obvious as fuck supervillain.
Yeah, I would rather the guy who's capable of doing... It's like Doctor Doom versus Red Skull. I'll take Doctor Doom, thank you,
Right.
because at least Doctor Doom is capable of putting on an air of sophistication and class and occasional goodwill and generosity and charity. Red Skull will just fucking kill you! Why the fuck are you all backing the Red Skull?
Because he tells it like it is, or something stupid like that.
Yeah, probably. Oh man, that's enough angry ranting for me. I'm sorry y'all to hear that.
I'm sure there'll be more angry ranting soon enough.
We'll see. Let's go to trailer time.
Let's go to trailer time indeed.
It's a long one.
Oh yeah.
It's trailer time again. We've got movie previews to watch. It's trailer time again. But they're all movies that I'm excited for, or shows that I'm excited for. That's the fucked up part. And it just kept piling up and piling up and piling up.
Yes, indeed.
Like Beetlejuice. I've never even seen Beetlejuice.
I've never seen Beetlejuice either. But I'm just like, okay.
I let some people know at work that I'd never seen it. They were shook.
Mm-hmm.
But something about this. I mean, I want to watch it. It's just I've never gotten around to it. And the second you've got a choir of kids singing Deo, the Banana Boat song, at a funeral, I'm confused. I'm enchanted.
Yes.
I want to know what's going on here.
Yeah, it seems very nutty, and then we just see Jenna Ortega being Jenna Ortega during all of it, and then capped off with Michael Keaton just appearing and just casually going, "The juice is loose." Which, I'm not gonna lie, for a second there, when he said that, I had to do a double take. It's like, wow, he sounded just like Will Arnett there.
Funny thing, though, apparently his name, the character's name, isn't spelled the same way as the title of the movie.
Yeah.
His is named after the star. I did not know that.
There's a star named, Betel Guet.
I think it's still pronounced Beetlejuice.
Oh, okay.
I think. I don't actually know.
It's a red supergiant. Oh, okay.
But that looks interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We got a teaser for Alien Romulus.
Which, I don't know. I think I'm less interested in it by default just because I'm not big into the Alien movies, so...
I'm not super big into them, but at this point, I've seen Alien and I liked it. I've seen Aliens and I think I liked it. I've seen... What's that one? Prometheus.
Right.
Conceptually, I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've seen bits and pieces of Covenant, and conceptually I like that too. But I like that Romulus appears to be going back to just straight sci-fi horror. Like, yeah. I don't mind the high concept, the aliens, the xenomorphs were created as experiments by these weird godlike super beings with mad genetic knowledge who also made Earth, but they hate us apparently?
Yeah. I don't know, my main takeaway from this trailer is the facehuggers are terrifying, and that is the best part of this trailer.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen one schmoove like that.
Yeah, that was... My brain went, this is good, and then immediately went, oh, but fuck this.
As soon as it started, this is interesting, see that little thing scuttering around, nope!
Nope, yep, no thank you.
Put that thing back where it came from, also help me!
Mm-hmm.
Got a trailer for Furiosa.
Yeah! Which looks like a damn good time, like Mad Max typically does.
And I still need to watch any of those.
I'm still surprised you haven't seen Fury Road.
Yeah, I know. It's just one of those things where... It's one of those things where every time somebody tells me I need to see Fury Road, I want to see Fury Road less. It's like, I get it, I understand. It's a transformative piece of media. I'll never be the same after I watch it. Maybe I like me the way I am.
I mean, I don't know if I would call it a transformative piece of media, like in transforming you as a person, but it is damn good. Yeah. But yeah, no, this looks good. Anya Taylor-Joy looks good. Fucking Chris Hemsworth kills it. His voice especially is actually amazing. He's doing a really good job making me forget that it's Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, honestly. Which, I don't mean that as a disparaging thing against Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, I also feel like there's not really a lot of times where Chris Hemsworth is actually the main antagonist. No, he's not. He's not really the antagonist type, historically. Yeah, so that makes me a lot more interested in it by default. The only movie I can think of where wasn't there like a movie where he has like some kind of crazy super house and uses that to trap a bunch of people? Oh shit, was that him? I think it was either him or one of his brothers. What was that? Was that Spiderhead? Yeah, that was Spiderhead. Never watched it. I could have sworn we watched it, or maybe I'm getting it mixed up with something else. No, I never watched it. Fair. I think you might have watched it? If I watched it, I don't remember it.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Definitely familiar. I know we talked about the trailers for it at least.
Yeah, no, that for sure. I definitely remember us talking about that for sure.
But I've 100% never seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that looks good. We got another trailer for Monkey Man, which just let it come out. Just put it out.
Just let it come out, please.
When is this out? What's the release date? I know it's in April.
Oh, so at least it's not far away then. Let's see.
Oh, April 5th! Fuck, that's 2 weeks!
Oh, hell yeah.
Right, that comes out the same weekend as The First Omen, which is why I'm probably not watching The First Omen.
Yeah, no, that's not a hard decision.
Not in the slightest.
Not in the slightest.
Not even a little bit. No, this looks amazing.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? On one hand, I'm kind of upset that it was given away in the Red Band trailer, but the one's, like, kill that's shown in the first trailer where he just, like, holds a guy's head against the table and hits him with a glass bottle, I was like, alright, that looks stupid. And then it turns out he's holding the guy's head against a Bunsen burner, and the glass is alcohol. It's just like, okay, that's pretty gangster.
Just set it on fire, it's like, god damn!
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, actually. That's a damn good kill.
Also, and I cannot stress enough, I like that I can follow what's going on.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
Because when it comes to action movies, I find it very important that I not get lost in the sauce.
Right.
Because framing a good action scene is not as easy as it looks.
Oh god, no.
Especially not when you gotta work camera work into it and weird angles and stuff.
Yeah.
But this looks suitably and affectionately like a really good John Wick adjacent thing.
I feel like it's Indian John Wick, but with more noir.
Yeah, I don't want to call it a knockoff, because that's disrespectful, but...
No, yeah, that would be disparaging for this movie.
It's not one of my holy trinity of genres, but I am very fond of the John Wick adjacent, as I like to call it. The kind of thing where it's clearly not John Wick, but you still feel like maybe he could pop up at some point.
Right.
Like nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
And this seems to be continuing that fine tradition.
Mm-hmm.
We got a teaser trailer for The Penguin.
Oh man, this looks intoxicating.
Yeah, maybe it's just because the Batman Part 2 got delayed a whole year, which is fine. Which is fine. But I'm looking forward to this more than ever before.
Yeah.
What a
yeah,
great,
100%.
It's basically one speech intercut with some things of the Penguin doing some dirty deeds, probably done dirt cheap, but all the while he's talking about this guy in his neighborhood who would always lend a hand to people, and who I'm pretty sure he was also saying was a mobster, and that when he died they threw him a parade, and that's what it's about, leaving that kind of an impact and being shown that kind of respect, and it's just
Yeah.
Look, there are Batman rogues who I want to see adapted, and I think a lot of the ones that we've gotten in movies have been overused, but as Batman rogues to headline a project go, the Penguin's a pretty good pick.
Oh yeah. Yeah, especially a Penguin being played by fucking Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell. Amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
I mean, I like Daredevil, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But wow, I did not expect this from him.
Yeah.
Not that he was Daredevil, but he was Bullseye.
Yeah.
More peanuts. Strap in for the discourse, we got a trailer for The Acolyte.
A.K.A. your regular installment of why Star Wars fans make me continue to lose hope in humanity.
Right?
No,
Star
I
Wars,
very much...
no hope.
Star Wars, a lack of hope.
An overwhelming drought of hope.
Yeah. Now, I want to kind of, like, make clear as well. So, it's funny, when I first started watching this trailer, you just sent it to me as The Acolyte, and the trailer that I came across, which I think was on Entertainment Tonight's channel, was also just called The Acolyte. So I'm thinking this is another, like, weird Star Wars ripoff thing, like how
Rebel
Moon was. Yeah, what Rebel Moon looked like. And it's just like, and it took a while for the movie to actually finally get to be like, yeah, this is Star Wars. And they're like, someone's killing the Jedi. It's like, oh shit, this is Star Wars. All right. I don't know. This looks fun. It doesn't look amazing. Like, it didn't, like, knock me off my socks or anything like that. But it looks really cool. The choreography in that first knife scene seemed kind of off. So that was the main thing that kind of made me go, is like, alright, this looks cool, but not anything, like, super spectacular. But I'm interested in it. I am very confident this is going to become another show, because I'm bad with this, especially since I don't have a Disney Plus account. Another show where it's like, I want to see this. Never gets around to watching it.
I might try to. I might watch this one just because the fact that it's so far removed from everything else, because it's set in the. Oh, I'm not a Star Wars fan, and I don't wanna piss somebody off and have them come for my head. But I want to say the High Republic era.
Yeah, because I remember looking it up. I think they said it was either 100 years or 1,000 years.
End of the High Republic era. Okay, thank God I haven't started a war.
Yeah, it's approximately 100 years before Episode 1.
Yeah, so it's so far removed that I feel like the fact that I haven't watched, I think, the last couple of shows.
Yeah.
Or at least, because I didn't watch Mando Season 3. I watched one episode of Mando Season 3. I watched one episode of Andor. And I was like,
right.
I think I'm burned for now. Let me try and come back later.
Right.
But this is so far removed that I could just jump into this, and it won't matter.
Yeah, and then it's also a thing of because of how far removed it is, there's a lot of room for, like, creativity and all, because a lot of Star Wars things over the last, 30 years, as far as mainline entries being shown on a screen, don't really dive into this part of the history of Star Wars. It's like, oh, this is cool! This is an interesting part of Star Wars that isn't talked about a lot, so there's a lot of cool things that could happen here. This is encouraging, and then Chud's gonna chud.
I really find it funny how people are like, oh, the second they see that red lightsaber, Phantom Menace doesn't make any sense anymore. Gee, it's almost like the whole point of the prequel era was that the Jedi had grown complacent and ignorant, and their overwhelming hubris in their own powers led to the fall of the Republic because they refused to believe that anything could actually challenge them. Gee!
Yeah.
Wonder if that attitude was still prevailing 100 years prior. Wonder where they got it.
I mean, to kind of destroy my own joke, there is also historical precedence for that, and Star Wars is very well known for taking ideas from, things that have happened both currently and in history.
Yeah, Star Wars...
Look at the fucking costume design for the Empire in Episode 4, guys.
They're literally called stormtroopers.
Yeah, but of course it's a thing of... Because, when I looked at this trailer, I was like, alright, this looks pretty cool. Not super excited, it looks really cool, and I'm seeing, everyone's saying it's responding negatively to it, and apparently the trailer has a ridiculous amount of dislikes. I'm like, wait, people don't like this? Why don't people like it? There has to be something I'm missing here. I mean, because I will be the first to admit I am a fan of Star Wars, but I'm not deep into Star Wars.
Same.
So I don't know a lot about lore, overall overarching lore, historical events, important characters, all that. I'm not super deep into that. So it's like, why are people disliking it? Look it up. Oh, people don't like this because the majority of casts are non-white, women, minorities, a combination of your pick. And people are apparently pissed at that, which is the most wild thing for me personally. It's Star Wars. Star Wars has made a point of just showcasing thousands of people, well, there more than thousands of people, literally millions of people across different portions of this, God knows how big galaxy, telling so many different stories. And it's just there's so many different stories and races and people and aliens, but we lose our shit when they don't look like the generic white dude from Nebraska.
It's just Nelson Peltz and his army of alt accounts. Oh, fuck off, Nelson.
Yeah, for real, Nelson. Get off the internet, Nelson.
No, when the end of the trailer happened, and what is that? And then the red lightsaber just comes through all those trees and ends up in that person's hand.
Yeah.
You see all those other Jedi pull out their lightsabers only to immediately get fucked. Oh, I love it.
Oh, that was good. I haven't been burned as bad by Star Wars as a lot of other people, but there's still portions of my brain that go cautiously optimistic, but that was good. I don't see this movie, or not this movie. I was actually a little disappointed this is a show and not a movie, in all honesty, because I thought, when it was showing all this, I thought this was going to be the biblical Star Wars movie.
Oh, no. No, this was already announced ages ago.
Oh, well, then I missed that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's alright, that looks cool. There's still, so far, there will still be nothing, and there hasn't been anything that tops the final sequence of the end of Season 2 of Mandalorian. That was peak Star Wars for me, personally.
That was good.
Yeah.
Then we also got a trailer for... this one's probably my favorite. In a Violent Nature.
Yeah, I just watched this, and it's this is very much a Cody movie. This is a really creative-looking movie.
And it's crazy how it looks very creative, and the whole concept is literally just, it's a slasher movie from the point of view of the slasher.
Yeah. Which It feels like there's not a lot of those, which is kind of surprising.
No, because the thing is, you have to present the slasher as this implacable force of nature. More of a presence than a character, essentially. So there's a thing where, obviously, you're not going to show part of the whole scare of the thing comes from the killer emerging from unexpected places, and it's not going to be unexpected if you're following the killer on their way to that place. So, this actually ought to be really funny, because now we're going to see the killer tracking people down, but not where they run to, how they decide to hide, what traps, if any, they want to set up. That's really good. I like that really setup. Cool.
There's a lot of good potential there.
However, during some of the scenes when the killer's just trudging around, all I had in my head was Vince Offer going, "You follow me, camera guy!" We're about to get murdered. No, this looks like an absolute treat. I cannot wait. I'm very excited.
Oh, yeah.
I probably need to add this to my top 10 list
of
most anticipated.
Right.
But, which just leaves Harold and the Purple Crayon.
Is this based on a thing?
It's based on a series of kids' books.
Okay, as I say, part of my brain just went, there's no way this is something that someone just came up with.
Except Harold's supposed to be 6.
Oh, really?
And Zachary Levi is not.
No, he is not. Not even remotely.
I guess he decided he was going to keep playing Shazam one way or the other.
Part of my brain can't help but go, whoever came up with this, the people who came up with this, were either trying to come up with a wonderful retelling of a beloved children's book, or were high off their ass, and just when it's like, shit, dude.
I read Harold and the Purple Crayon when I was a kid. This seems to have very little in common with it, except that there's a purple crayon that can draw whatever.
So apparently, I just looked it up, this movie is supposed to be a sequel to the original book.
Huh.
Yeah, so that explains why Zachary Levi is not 6 years old in this movie.
But he's a fictional character in the movie, so it really doesn't explain it.
You didn't see anything. Oh, Zooey Deschanel's in this.
Oh, hell yeah. But I find it really funny how he was playing Shazam, and now he's functionally Purple Green Lantern.
Yeah, that's actually a way of thinking about it, especially when he just drew the airplane.
Yeah.
And also the helicopter ride for that kid. Yeah.
And that one little flying bug thing where, oh, that's amazing. Chomp! Oh, that's terrifying. That's actually terrifying.
Yeah.
It's made of the most powerful substance in the world. Wax. Imagination.
Of wax.
Oh, Jermaine Clement's in this? Alfred Molina's in this? What do you mean?
Oh, okay.
Wait, was he? That wasn't him in the trailer, was it? No, I think that was Jermaine Clement. Wow. Huh, when does this come? August. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, we're not saying no, but it is a maybe, depending on what else is coming out that same time. Yeah.
Let's talk box office.
Oh boy.
We did in fact see the highest grossing movie this weekend, because it was Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Indeed.
$45.2 million domestic weekend and total for a $61.6 million worldwide total, against a $100 million budget, though.
Ooh, that's not encouraging.
This is gonna need some real legs if it's gonna make money.
Yeah.
Because Godzilla X Kong is next week.
Oh, that might be a problem.
That's probably a big kaiju-sized problem.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just like a mini Kong problem.
A mini Kong problem. Now I'm thinking of mini Cons from Transformers Armada. Why is that? Huh. But before we get into the review of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire real quick, I just want to point out, we're actually trying a new sub-series thing called Cinema Synergy. It's spelled weird, but that's not part of the title. But the idea is, when something is coming out in theaters, we take a look at something that is related to it in some way, shape, or form. So we took a look back at Ghostbusters Afterlife, as Frozen Empire is the direct sequel to that, and Afterlife came out before this podcast was running, so...
Yeah.
We just gave it another watch, gave our thoughts on it. If you want to check it out, feel free. I don't know how often we're going to do this. I think I'm aiming for like once a month at the current rate. Assuming it's worth it, and assuming, people actually like watching it. But, yeah, just throwing that out there.
Yeah, give it a watch. It's good. It's well edited. I might be biased in saying it's good.
I appreciate the editing thing, though, because that took me a not insubstantial amount of time.
Oh, I am very aware.
Anyways, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is out.
Yes, indeed.
And we saw it.
We did see it indeed.
And it's fine.
It's fine. It really is just fine.
It gets a little less fine the more I think about it, though.
I mean, it stayed fine for me for the most part.
No, fair.
Yeah, I don't know. So this is already a good start to this. It's like, yeah, this is kind of the movie in a nutshell, by the way.
This is alright, yeah? Yeah. Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
For realsies. For realsies, it is actually just fine.
Which kind of stinks, because, okay, the thing about this is more of what I want out of a Ghostbusters movie, and one of the things we talked about in that Cinema Synergy video recently is the fact that Afterlife is the least like the original Ghostbusters of all the sequels, but that kind of works to its advantage because the other sequels the sequel and the reboot demonstrated that trying to ape it doesn't really work, and Frozen Empire kind of backs that up.
Yeah, it does.
Or at least this particular approach, because it feels kind of like more of a middle ground between Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I'm not sure it works.
Yeah. Because it feels like it wants to do both. Like, it's trying to really kind of edge into, like, the style of the original Ghostbusters and the comedy and all that to kind of win back some of the people there, while also at the same time being like, but we didn't forget about the people who really liked Afterlife for how different it was. It doesn't do a bad job of trying to reel in both crowds, but it doesn't do a good job either.
It's the quote of, if you try to chase two rabbits, you won't catch either one.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like this is kind of that.
Yeah.
The premise is, the Spenglers and also Gary have moved to New York.
I don't know why that sounded funny to me, because it is a thing of, oh wait, no, that's right, and also Gary is factually correct.
He's not a Spengler.
No, he is not.
So yeah, Carrie Coon, Paul Rudd, Finn Wolfhard, and McKenna Grace are all back.
Mm-hmm.
They're operating out of the old Ghostbusters firehouse, now officially licensed Ghostbusters and everything.
Right.
With permission from Ernie Hudson's Winston Zedmore, who's Xenomorph? Animorph? Galvanic Mechamorph. No, that's a Ben 10 thing. Anyways.
Wow, okay, that was a pull I was not expecting.
I don't know, I've been wanting to rewatch Ben 10 recently.
That's
fair. Neither here nor there. So they're out, they're ghostbusting as a family, but some concerns are raised by now Mayor Walter Peck, William Atherton, reprising his role. I was trying to think of a joke and I couldn't think of one.
Right.
But he's now mayor, and he's giving him grief, especially of the fact that Phoebe is allowed to run around with weapons dangling out of the side of a car when she's, 15? 15, yeah.
15, yeah.
And so she kind of has to ease back on the ghost busting, which really sucks for her, because she's the one who's most enthusiastic about it.
Yeah. Arguably most adept to it as well?
Yeah. I mean, the others are all competent, but...
Yeah.
And here we kind of run into where that blend Afterlife and Ghostbusters approach doesn't really work, because one thing about the original Ghostbusters that I think gets kind of overlooked, and is kind of actually amazing when you think about it.
Right.
None of the good guys have character arcs.
Yeah.
None of them change. There's no hero's journey. There's no big thing where they have to learn a lesson or something. It's literally just they uncover this mystery, and then they use the overwhelming power of science to take down a god and a marshmallow man, and then ride off into the sunset as victorious heroes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here, that is not the case, because they try to have some emotional story arcs going through, which is fine, except there's a bajillion characters in this.
Yes.
And only a couple of them get that.
Yeah. One of the unfortunate problems with this movie is that this movie does not have a long enough runtime for the number of important characters that are in it. I feel like with this movie there was supposed to be more to be shown that was cut down for the sake of runtime, because it feels like they tried to make every character, even kind of the more minor characters, have an important reason to stay and all that.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's clearly something lost in the sauce here, because they're trying to give everyone equal time, but what ends up happening is that no one is given good time on screen.
It feels like they couldn't decide what people liked most about Afterlife, so they just decided to throw it all back again. Because there are characters where... Okay, Podcast, one of my favorite things about the original. Well,
yeah.
The original, I say. Ghostbusters Afterlife, I should say.
Yeah. It's like, Podcast also found the TARDIS, ladies and gentlemen.
Podcast is one of my favorite characters in Ghostbusters Afterlife. he did not need to be in this fucking movie. This movie kind of drags for having him in it.
Which kind of sucks, because a lot of the enjoyment in Afterlife is seeing Podcast and Phoebe do shit together, and there's, like, none of that in this movie.
Yeah, he still gets some good bits, and you feel like he was added in because they needed somebody for Phoebe to bounce off of.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you could have... I'll probably get into it more in the spoilers, but I feel like you could have had other characters do that instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, this feels like it's trying to repeat some beats from the previous movie and from the original Ghostbusters that it really doesn't need to, but they're doing it. It's a play the hits kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do that.
Yeah, no. You can let things kind of sit and fester on their own with the original ideas that you have, and if it works out, it works out.
And point of fact, not only do you have to balance the original cast with the Afterlife cast, but there's several new additions to this one who all feel underserved because they're having to juggle for screen time with the previous two sets of characters. Because you've got Kumail Nanjiani in this movie as Nadeem. He's alright.
He's alright.
But his whole arc feels kind of rushed and underserved because, again, not enough time for him.
Yeah.
Patton Oswalt's barely in it.
Which is wild.
He got so much play in the trailer.
Yeah, and it's also the thing of, like, it's Patton Oswalt. That should just be a big pull on its own. It's just like, yeah, and he's in this movie for, what, all of 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
If that.
If that. Mm-hmm.
You got James Acaster as Dr. Lars Pinfield, who, he's kind of like the new Egon, almost.
Yeah.
But he's barely in it. And he's pretty good when he's in it, but it's just a thing of, Lucky's back, and really didn't need to be.
Yeah, they did not need to be here.
Like, I like Lucky and I like Podcast, but you could have gone one movie without them.
Yeah.
Especially because this one's set in New York, and...
Yeah, you know what? That does actually raise the question of how Lucky and Podcast in particular got to New York from middle of nowhere, Oklahoma.
Lucky I can buy because she's working with the Ghostbusters, so clearly she got recruited by Winston.
Yeah.
So I can see him paying her enough that she can afford rent in New York. But Podcast is one where it's like, you didn't need to be here. I'm honestly kind of confused how you're here.
Yeah, it's the thing of, Podcast is here as, well, I don't know, that's kind of a spoiler, so never mind there.
Even Trevor feels like he's barely in this.
Yeah.
And compared to Phoebe, he was already kind of undercooked in the first one.
Trevor's whole thing in this is just the B plot of the movie, and that's about it.
It's not even really a B plot. There's a hint of him feeling like he's just going through the motions and like he's not particularly interested in Ghostbusters, but then that takes a backseat to him having a rivalry cat and mouse Tom and Jerry thing going with Slimer. And it doesn't ultimately lead anywhere.
Yeah.
Neither does his crush on Lucky from the first movie. Doesn't go anywhere.
I feel like that's not even talked about.
Not even referenced.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's referenced. I think it's hinted at, but you could have just cut it. And I feel like the only reason you cut it is because you thought people would be more confused if you just didn't mention it at all.
Right.
It's a shame. There's some really funny stuff in here. I feel like I've been dunking on this movie, but to its credit, if it doesn't quite work as a meshing of the two styles of good Ghostbusters movies, at least amongst the ones that I've seen, it's still funny.
Oh yeah, it's very funny.
Case in point, okay, like, I know I said Podcast doesn't need to be in this movie, but it is funny watching him and Ray do their YouTube show.
Yeah.
Is it for YouTube? I assume. Maybe.
Well, it's like, considering Podcast tells Ray it's like to like and subscribe and all that. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be for YouTube. Listening
to that whole thing, all I could think was, this is just Dan Aykroyd filming one of his Crystal Head vodka commercials.
You know, that's the unfortunate thing about not watching as much actual TV, is the fact that I miss things like that.
And that's why we have the internet.
Fair.
Hell, you know what? Callie barely has anything to do in this movie. And she's basically running the team.
Yeah.
In the sense of, Gary defers to her, and she's Phoebe and Trevor's mom, so they kind of have to listen to her. So in that sense, she's functionally running the team, and she barely feels like she's in this movie.
It's weird when a character feels like that they are in the movie simply, like the character is the plot device.
She's there because Phoebe and Trevor need to be there, and she's there because Phoebe needs somebody to run up and have friction with.
Callie in this feels like, in this movie, her character exists to kind of get plot points rolling for Trevor and Phoebe.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to completely be there as a character in her own right.
So I guess the other part of the premise is that... Oh, what am I thinking of? There's this artifact that contains some kind of unspeakable evil, or what have you, that threatens the entire stability of the Ghostbusters containment tank, yada yada yada, end of the world, fire and brimstone, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. And they have to unravel that, too.
Right.
Also, okay, this one's kind of weird. So, Emily Lind is playing a just flat-out human ghost.
Yeah.
Melody. Just straight-up human, no monstrous transformation, no overly violent displays of power or anything similar. She's just a regular ghost. The only other one of those we've seen, as far as I know, is Egon, and even he didn't talk.
Yeah, no.
So, this actually posed an interesting thing. Do you think the diner scene counts as a spoiler?
I think so.
Yeah, I think I'll save it for spoilers, because it's not in the trailers, so...
Yeah.
No, I mean, I like this, but I'm a little disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately, you've brought all these characters back, and it feels like you didn't need them all.
Yeah.
You've introduced a bunch of new ones, so now if this gets a sequel, now you've got even more to juggle. And it's funny, but I don't know that it's funny enough, especially to make up for the fact that the emotional core is kind of underbaked this time.
Yeah, the movie's funny, but I don't think the humor in the movie, while definitely good, there's not enough of it to kind of move past any of the other shortcomings that the movie brings to the table.
And it's weird because even despite all that, I'd still say it's worth a watch.
Oh, it's 100% worth a watch. It's unfortunate because we feel like like we're kind of downing on it pretty bad, and it's like, no, this is... I would say, if anything, this Ghostbusters movie it's fun. Of all the Ghostbusters, at least all the ones I've personally seen as well, this one is the most turn-off-your-head worthy, which probably isn't going to be great for some people coming from Afterlife, because Afterlife, I think, personally did a lot more with like its tone and its story and all that, but this is still fun. It's worth seeing. It's not horror bad or anything like that.
No, absolutely not. It's underwhelming.
Yeah, I would
That's
say it's
the main
underwhelming.
thing.
Yeah, it's underwhelming, but if you walk away having a decently good time and a few laughs, then you've gotten your money's worth out of it.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. You think we should move on to spoilers?
Yeah, I think now's a good time as any to move on to the spoiler section.
Alright. So if you don't want to be spoiled on Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, make sure to click away in 3, 2, 1.
So my big thing with how podcasts got there is because I think I don't know if it's explicitly stated, but I imagine it's inferred that it's been paid for by Winston as well. But then he goes, it's like, oh, my parents think I'm at space camp. It's like, what?
Yeah.
We're not going to get any more of this? Kind of like how we're not going to get any more of how you got that like TV set and recording equipment in freaking middle of nowhere in Nebraska?
No, absolutely not. Why would you? So much of this movie is weird. In a not completely justifiable by it being Ghostbusters kind of way.
Right.
For example, this is the big thing for me. This kind of fucking broke my brain. So, Melody's a completely human ghost.
Yes.
Absolutely nothing weird about her at all. Besides, the mild flame manifestations, but it doesn't seem like they actually do anything.
Right.
So, when Phoebe's been benched and the rest of the family's out on a ghost-busting mission, they get another call at headquarters, so she gets podcast and they both go to the diner.
Right.
And Melody's there. And Phoebe hesitates to blast her with a proton pack because they've met before and played some chess in the park and had a decent time with it. So
yeah.
She hesitates, and then Melody starts leaving, and then she goes for a blast anyway, but misses. And that makes me wonder, because another shtick is that the Ghostbusters have been just keeping all the ghosts in that containment tank for 40 years.
Right.
Have they been keeping just regular people ghosts in there?
That is an interesting thing to think about, isn't it?
And, I'm not saying that they have been, because for all I know, this is Phoebe's first encounter with one of these. It's entirely possible that when if the Ghostbusters encounter any spirits like this before, they just help them move on instead.
Mm-hmm.
But I shouldn't be thinking about that.
Yeah.
If you're not prepared to address the question, you shouldn't be bringing it up. Because now all I'm doing is sitting here thinking about, oh god, have they been condemning actual people spirits who weren't necessarily hurting anybody to an indefinite confinement?
Oh, it's the Tenet treatment. Don't think too much about it.
What the fuck is that?
That is a little messed up, to say the least.
Also, not to bring the movie down, but I feel like the entire plot where Phoebe accidentally enables the end of the world could have been avoided if anybody had thought... Because Winston shows them his new facilities where they research ghosts and stuff. And this is after she's been benched. After she's been removed from active ghostbusting duty because Dickless threatened to come down on them. You know, if they kept involving her in this.
Is that true? It is indeed true. This man has no dick.
Even that part! Okay, I'm gonna stay on my topic. So...
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Why didn't they just offer her a research internship or something? She's clearly smart.
Yeah, she's extremely intelligent.
They know she's smart like Egon.
Yeah.
So if she's been removed from active ghostbusting duty, you could at least get her involved in this, where it's supervised, where it's safe, where nobody's really going to question it, and she's still involved. And in fact, probably has the potential to be on the forefront of some groundbreaking research, and this doesn't come up. She doesn't think to ask. Callie doesn't think to offer, or to ask about it. Winston doesn't offer. What?
Like, I would expect Gary to say something, especially.
Yeah. Then going on about podcast didn't need to be in this movie, I feel like they could have just had Ray do all the stuff podcast does.
Including the hammer?
No, you'd have to cut the hammer bit, unfortunately, which... that is one of my favorite parts, because on their YouTube show, they scan objects for PKE energy. I think that's redundant. Psychokinetic energy is the whole thing. They scan it for PKE, and so this old woman brings in this watch that she thinks her husband is inhabiting, and when nothing comes up on the PKE, podcast just brings down a fucking sledgehammer on it, and just goes...
Out of fucking nowhere.
So the hammer gets the views. So you'd have to cut that, which is a little regrettable.
It is regrettable, but once again, it's like 2 movies in a row we have a character saying the realest shit about just life in general. Sorry, ma'am, the hammer gets the views in response to the YouTube algorithm.
Actually, you know what? You might not have had to cut that. You could have had it be like, the show's really taken off, and now he's got assistants, and the assistants insist on doing shit like that. Because there's a minor subplot where Ray still wants to feel useful, even though he's not actively ghostbusting anymore, and it sort of culminates in him bringing Phoebe and Podcast to the library, where a possessor ghost ends up taking control of one of the lion statues, and then they have to blast it to pieces, which is enough to get the Ghostbusters on thin ice, but also, like, okay, so everybody seems to have accepted that ghosts exist and the Ghostbusters are real, which I think in Afterlife I was under the impression everybody thought they were frauds again, but I might have just misinterpreted. But if everybody knows that, everybody saw that fucking lion move.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of witnesses around.
So they didn't just blast the lion out of nowhere, it was clearly possessed. And then Winston's getting on Ray's case about, we're getting too old for this, these are your golden years, you should be figuring out what to do with them, and Ray just basically says, but this is what I love to do. This is how I want to spend my time.
Which, if I'm honest, when he said that, my brain immediately went, oh, you're so dead. Like, I straight up was like, oh, they're gonna kill Dan Aykroyd.
I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad nobody died in this.
Oh yeah, same.
But you could have very easily tied that into Phoebe's storyline by having Ray be secretly enabling her to continue this so he can vicariously live out Ghostbusting with Egon again.
Yeah.
There's a clear thread there that they either didn't see or chose not to do.
I'm gonna go with chose not to. Well, I don't know. With how it goes, I could see like them not seeing it being also very likely to.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a case of they already knew they were gonna bring everybody back, and so they always had Podcast be Phoebe's sidekick in this draft, so the thought of tying it to Ray never occurred to them, or if maybe it occurred to them, but they realized they wanted Podcast back, so they spliced the 2 storylines apart. But that would be a really good way to keep the Phoebe is frustrated by all of this, and have one less character, and also have Ray's character arc work out a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because it ends up with the bonehead decision of Phoebe decides to literally turn herself into a ghost for 2 minutes to hang out on the same plane of existence as Melody, because eventually, after the lion incident, she gets fired from the Ghostbusters entirely.
After, even though we don't get to see or hear any of it, swearing up, I imagine swearing out.
Peck.
Peck, yeah. And she gets shit for it, and her parents are like, I expected you to behave. It's like, who the fuck would behave to this dickhead?
Yeah! This dickless dickhead.
He had it coming.
Of course he did. So, okay, you know what? I'll give this movie credit.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently in the IDW comics, Walter Peck ends up becoming a somewhat reluctant ally of the Ghostbusters in the sense of he's put in charge of a commission that oversees them, and he still hates their guts, but he acknowledges that they're important.
Mm-hmm.
So he tries to keep other people off their backs while still hating their guts. And I like that, but I also feel like minor petty city official royally fucks up, causes disaster, 40 years later gets promoted to mayor, is much more realistic.
Yeah, it kind of is.
So in that sense, I respect it.
It's the thing, like, when she goes, it's like, the last time you closed us down, a giant rift to the afterlife popped up in the middle of New York and nearly killed everybody. And it's like, and you're gonna do this shit again. And it's just like, yeah, this is the most realistic shit in this movie.
Okay, and this is a minor thing, but at the very end of the movie, I get they had to bring back the dickless joke, but the fact that it's just some random bystander shouting it when you have all the original Ghostbusters there and the new team is ridiculous. It's bizarre.
Part of me once feels like that it's just a random extra who just shouted that out, and they're like, shit, we gotta keep that.
Because it would have been so much better coming from one of the Ghostbusters.
It would have been, don't get me wrong. It would have been
especially because Bill Murray's barely in this.
Yeah.
He's in it, he pops in at the very middle to test Nadim, where it turns out, because Nadim's actually got psychokinetic fire powers.
Because reasons?
Because
it's not
ancestral.
Because reasons, yeah. It is ancestral.
So,
which, that's another thing that I'm kind of upset didn't get explored on more.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to be fair, if ghosts and gods exist, then people with psychic powers, it makes sense.
Yeah.
To an extent. It's reasonable, you know?
Fair.
What are ghosts but a spectral manifestation of latent psychic potential functionally, is, I assume, what they're going with.
Right.
But, I like when Peter's doing the test, because you think he's just being a goof, but he's clearly he's putting his psychology degree to work, and he's actively riling up Nadim because he observes the fire and is testing, okay, what if I keep pushing? Because he's very good at that. Peter Venkman, and Bill Murray, is very good at pushing buttons.
Is very good at just being a fucking troll.
Yeah. But after that one scene, he just disappears until the very end when he just rolls up in a Ghostbuster uniform in the middle of blizzardy New York, where people are probably dying left and right because Phoebe did oops.
Yeah.
And then he just shows up and is like, can I be of any help? And it's just, why are you here? I was half expecting, you remember Space Jam?
Yeah.
You remember when he shows up at the climax and Daffy demands to know what he's doing there and he goes, oh, I'm a friend of the producer and Teamster dropped me off. I was half expecting that. I was half expecting it to be like, Venkman, what are you doing here? It's in my contract. I had to show up for a sequel.
Right.
Because he's fine, but man, it kind of feels like he doesn't want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just
a tad.
But getting back to the Walter Peck thing, which is still veering way off topic, I feel like it should have been coming from either one of the original Ghostbusters or one of the new ones heard about that, because I'm sure that story had to have gotten out.
Yeah, there's no way Bill Murray, of all people, doesn't, tell that story about them. It was like, yeah, I called the mayor dickless one time, and I got away with it.
There's no way Peter Venkman doesn't brag about that, but I feel like it would have been more impactful coming from one of them.
Yeah, it's especially frustrating because at the very end, we get Peter Venkman, going up to Peck, because Peck's freaking the fuck out.
Walter, you clown.
Yeah, Peter just, quietly walks up and goes, you still don't get it, do you? That would have been a good time for the dickless joke.
Yeah. Or you could have had Winston do it during the scene when Phoebe's being detained for blowing up the stone lion, because it's so weird that they give Peck and Phoebe this personal animosity when Winston has presumably been butting heads with this guy for 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Winston's the one running Ghostbusters, and has been. So
Winston's the one keeping the firehouse alive.
exactly. So why is all of the anger with Peck transferred between him? I know why, because Phoebe's the main character functionally, but
yeah,
it feels unsatisfying.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like I'm more down on this movie than I should because there's some really good points, like when they go to the library to talk with Patton Oswalt's character, and he assumes it's a prank set up by by one of his colleagues, and podcast just goes, "Your colleague is already dead."
Like, Patton Oswalt's getting ready to call his colleague, and he's like, "Your colleague's like, wait, what?" It's like, and then he just goes like, "No, your colleague is fine," as far as we know.
I like the tricycle rolling up near the end.
That shit was
like that.
genuinely scary. No, that was
going, nope, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
No, and like that scene and the way it's shot is one of the best parts of the movie, genuinely. And I know that sounds stupid, and to be honest, it kind of is stupid. But the way it's shot and the way they angled it, especially with like against the like dreary, blizzardy background of New York at that point, it's like genuinely terrifying. It's just like, oh, this is amazing. As was the bit where the Possessor takes over the Ecto-1.
Yes!
And
oh, that was good.
I was like, oh, that's amazing. Especially when the lights are all red, it just has a demonic version of the siren. I'm just like, oh, it's to me the equivalent of the scene in Episode 9 of Star Wars where C-3PO gets haywire to read the Sith language. And it's just like, no, I want more of this. I need more than 20 seconds of this, please, because this is pretty awesome.
Where struggling actors can Twitch stream and buy crypto. Good line.
I was like, that was a damn good line.
But, okay, you know what? I'm looking at my final note here that I took, and it just reminds me that I feel like the biggest problem with this movie is there's so much stuff that feels like it's only there because the studio felt like they needed it because it's Ghostbusters. Slimer's a great example of that, but also you get round 2 of Podcast vs. the Marshmallow Men, and the Marshmallow Men themselves don't even need to be there, and it's kind of weird that they are because they're specifically a manifestation of Gozer.
Yeah, which is also the thing that made me go at the end of it, because, well, I don't know if we want to jump to that just yet.
I don't think it matters.
The mid-credits scene. Well, when we had the small discussion, because jumping way ahead, even though we already talked about the end of this movie, the mid-credit scene ends with a guy at a truck stop, and then, like, trying to make a phone call, and then his truck just starts starting over and moving on its own. It turns out that the guy is transporting a bunch of Stay Puft marshmallows, and the Marshmallow Men have taken over the truck and have hijacked it.
Which is weird to me, because that's the thing of, are those the same Marshmallow Men from the Ghostbusters headquarters, or from Ray's Bookshop? Or is this a separate bunch of Marshmallow Men? Are all Stay Puft marshmallows rising up from...
I mean, I'm thinking it's a separate thing of Marshmallow Men, because it's a thing of, like, this is the middle of nowhere, and they've just risen up and taken over. It's like, that means that Stay Puft has elements of Gozer in all of their marshmallows, and that's a big problem. But then I thought about it, and we were both like, but we could see a real company, a real American company, just being like, but think of the publicity.
Yeah, no, our mascot, a giant version of our mascot, almost destroyed New York as a manifestation of a mad, evil god. We are going out of business, and then somebody spun it around and just went, but think of the free publicity!
Yeah, it's like, think of the money. And it's like, people died, so?
Stay Puft, when New York just can't take it no more.
The Stay Puft, the official marshmallow sub-brand of Nestle.
Okay, you know what? Maybe I'm fixing the movie for it, but
okay.
Maybe that gas station was in Somerville, and maybe it's only Stay Puft marshmallows in the area. I'm pretty sure Gozer is dead because they got shredded into a shit ton of ghost traps, and I remember reading somewhere that historically across the Ghostbusters franchise, that's one way to unequivocally destroy a spirit, but maybe Gozer still has some influence in that area, and maybe the marshmallows there rose up.
I could see that.
Because podcast mentioned that the ones at the bookstore he smuggled from Somerville. So I'm pretty sure it's not all of them?
Fair.
And I'll admit, as much as I say a lot of the fan service stuff feels like it doesn't need to be there, some of it is still good, even if it's not great.
Yeah, it's like, it's still good and fun, but it's also the thing of, if it wasn't in the movie, it wouldn't take anything away from the movie at the same time.
Like the possessor, I thought it was pretty funny when the possessor ghost ends up trying to run away inhabiting a pizza, and then Slimer just rises up from the table, chomps it, flies away, and then the whole payoff of the of Trevor's B plot is just him to point and go, I know that guy! Which is stupid, but it's somehow really endearing.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he's so happy about that.
I know that guy. It's like, yeah, you've been trying to sentence him to eternal confinement in a ghost trap.
Yeah.
Also, all the ghosts are out now.
Yeah, and that doesn't get talked about at the end.
No, neither does the fact that that probably at least dozens of New Yorkers died.
Yeah.
To a deep freeze caused by the Ghostbusters. Caused directly. That's not even Walter's fault.
Yeah.
So that's a little unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm game to see another one of these, but I'd like a little more focus.
Yeah, I think...
Pick a group, or mix and match. Wouldn't that be fun?
One of the things I saw about this week, as I was reading up more of people's takes on it, and I think this kind of sums it up pretty well, even though I haven't seen it, this movie is to Afterlife what Ghostbusters 2 was to the original.
I haven't seen Ghostbusters 2, so I can't weigh in.
Well, I know Ghostbusters 2 was a relatively maligned movie compared to the first one.
That's true.
So it's like, I can see that comparison. I also haven't seen... Or, I've seen bits and pieces of 2. I haven't seen all of it.
Mm.
So, but I see that, I'm like, I can see that line of thinking.
Yeah, like, I know this is a risky venture, because the Ghostbusters movies, historically speaking, don't make buckets.
Yeah.
But maybe try making a few different movies, or maybe, like, do some animated shows where you only have to do some voice acting or something, and do some character pairings that just let you play around a little bit. Like I said, the Phoebe Ray idea.
Yeah, I can see, like, Phoebe Ray or Phoebe Ray in podcast just doing shit in New York.
Yeah, or any of the original Ghostbusters and Callie.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Callie and Gary.
I mean, I feel like Callie and Gary will be a given.
Or Gary and any of them separately. Or, I don't know, Peter and Trevor. That could be fun, because you've got the guy who's just along for the ride with the guy who was also along for the ride, but also the money.
Yeah.
There's potential here that I feel like isn't being tapped, ultimately.
Yeah, 100%.
And when you've got this many talented people, and you've got this good a concept, because I feel like you could make Ghostbusters movies theoretically forever, and I'm not saying you should.
Yeah, but you absolutely could.
You could. There's an endless mine of things. Hell, you could even lean more into horror at one point if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should, but you could.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like this one's trying too hard to go, yeah, we're so fucking back! To actually be back.
You wanted me back, so I'm back.
Or something of the such.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we barely said anything about this movie except me bitching about it.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because as much as I say that, I don't hate it.
No, it's this movie's enjoyable.
I don't even think it's bad. It's just, I guess I was just expecting more.
Yeah, I can understand that. Like, it's not bad. It's just not amazing.
Yeah.
Either.
And I mean, hey, you know what? If that is the fate of Ghostbusters, to be an absolute lightning in a bottle phenomenon doomed to an eternity of okay sequels,
mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that as well.
I'm okay with that. Just let me know. Just
warn
me up front, that's what I'm in for. Don't give me hope.
Exactly.
You got anything else?
Not particularly.
Alright. Well, thanks so much for listening, everybody. I wasn't expecting to be this whiny about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, but here we are.
Yes.
Still go see it, though. It's worth it.
Please go see it.
Next week, I think we probably got another double feature on our hands, because obviously Godzilla X Kong comes out. But also this week, Blood and Honey 2.
Oh, yeah, we need to figure that out, don't we?
Yeah, we do. In fact, right after this, want to get tickets?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So we're going to sign off and take care of that. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. We're on Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. A lot of places to get podcasts. Not necessarily wherever, but a lot of places.
A lot of the places you get your podcasts from.
And this has been Under the Bridge with Cody, a.k.a. the Scarlett Troll.
And with Greg, a.k.a. Greg.
And we'll catch you guys next week.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.